Hello guys, my name is Behzad, but here in Australia I ask people to call me Ben. To tell you a little bit about myself, I came to Australia less than 2 years ago for studying. I spent my second summer break studying for the PTE exam to get the 79 plus score for immigration purposes. I took the exam in early February 2020 and I got 490s in each of the communicative skills in my first attempt. And one interesting fact about the PTA scorecards that I didn't know is that they actually mention it on your scorecard if you're a first time test taker or not. So I assume it's something. Um, I watched a lot of YouTube videos to prepare for this exam, and after I got the results even better than what I was looking for, I thought maybe it's time for me to give back and share some of my experiences and knowledge on this exam to perhaps help some of you who might be looking for some help with your PTA exam to get the results for your efforts easier. So in this video, I have reviewed all of the 20 tasks in the PTE exam and mentioned the most important points, in my opinion, of course, on each of these tasks in order to get the full mark on each of them. These points are the results of the YouTube videos that I watched and my own personal experience and understanding of the exam. So keep watching to the end. Thank you.
The first task, read aloud. This task is very important. It contributes almost 30 points to the reading score and a lot towards the speaking score. You don't have to speak fast, just keep your natural pace. You can use Google Translate to see how much your pronunciation is understandable by a computer, but don't worry if it doesn't understand 100% of your words. From my personal experience, anything more than 90% will do, as the PTE computer apparently understands more than Google, perhaps because it is trained to detect words pertinent to the ones in the given text. Again, this is my personal judgment. Now let's use an example to see how accurately Google Translate can detect my words. Energy is an excellent source of supplying power to homes and companies. By utilizing solar power, you're not merely protecting the environment from becoming polluted, but also you are saving the rest of the Earth's natural resources. Capturing solar energy does not contribute any pollution and does not harm the atmosphere. One of the factors why many individuals are still hesitant to make use of solar power is because it is expensive. The need of big location of space is another reason why people aren't taking into consideration solar power. As you can see, there are four variations between what I said and what Google detected, besides the periods which it did not detect at all. Letting the periods slide, I have less than 5% variations here, which is completely acceptable. And I can almost guarantee that if you perform like this in your exam, you will get the full mark for the section. But if you did it and say got 30% wrong, then you should look for the problems with your pronunciation. Now give it a try and see how well you can say the words and how well it can detect your words. The second task, repeat sentence. For this task, I suggest trying to memorize the phrases rather than writing the first letter technique. I learned about writing the first letter technique in some YouTube videos and tried it, but I didn't find it helpful, and I think it makes sense because if you think about it, there are so many words beginning with each letter, and you can only tell the word by looking at its first letter when you already have the word in your mind. So taking time to write down the letters will only split your focus. Instead, try to understand the audio completely and divide it into 2 to 3 sensible phrases in your mind. I also repeated each phrase in my mind rapidly after it was finished and found it helpful to memorize the sentence. Perhaps you can benefit from this technique or develop your own strategy after enough practice. You can learn about how to divide a sentence into several phrases to help you better memorize it by searching it on YouTube. The next task, describe image. It contributes only to the speaking score. Content is not very important in this task, so do use templates. Hesitations will badly affect your fluency score. I only had hesitations once in my describe image and twice in repeat sentence, and I lost 10 points in oral fluency. There are many suggested templates on YouTube which you can use to develop your own templates for each type of image, suited to your own level of English and your strengths. And I recommend that you develop your own templates rather than just using the suggested templates, because this way you will be able to use your templates more fluently and accurately in the exam conditions. Then you can just pick up some words from the image and put them in your template, which will be enough to satisfy the content part of this task, and also speak fluently for at least 35 seconds and obtain a high score. Now let's take a look at some of the templates that I developed for my describe image task using some of the videos on YouTube and my own experience. As you will see, these templates allow you to make sure that you have introduction and conclusion in your description, and that you can speak fluently for at least 35 seconds without hesitating to come up with ideas and real interpretation of the image. The sentence in green is just for in case that you couldn't find enough words on the image to reach 35 seconds. In most cases, you might even find so many words on the image that you probably won't even use the two sentences above it either. But make sure you use the first and the last sentences, as it is crucial for your description to have introduction and conclusion. Again, here also, if you can find so much information on the image to tell, then you probably won't use some of the sentences in this template, but make sure to have introduction and conclusion. This is the template that I use to describe maps. Pause the video to have more time for reading the text. For some of you who might not be familiar with Venn diagrams, I've brought an example here. As you can see, the items in the middle represent the similarities between the given elements, and the items on the right and the left side represent the differences. Having that in mind, the suggested template works as in the following. Pictures are the only type of image that you might actually have to explain something. In this case, just say the first thing that comes to your mind, like the car on the left side of the picture is in red color, or anything that is not too complicated to risk losing marks on grammar, because your grammar in this task is not assessed by how complicated it is, but by how flawless it is. Then the most important and the trickiest speaking task in my belief, retail lecture. Content in this task is very important for your listening score, so do not just pick some keywords and put them in a template. Instead, try to write down some sentences from the audio and then use the 10-second preparation time to prepare what exactly you're going to say, like which sentence to use as the conclusion and their order. I've seen some test takers who couldn't get 79 plus in their listening skill, despite repeatedly getting 79 plus or even 90s in their other skills, and they believed that they had done well in their listening tasks as well. I believe that this was because of their poor performance in the content part of their retail lecture and summarized spoken text. You see, it's not possible to figure out how exactly each task affects each skill's score, but I think the content part of these two tasks is where the PTE computer figures out whose candidates are trying to fool it by memorizing and repeating some templates instead of truly understanding the audio and won't let them get away with it. In order to save you some time at the exam and making sure that you'll bring introduction and conclusion in your retail lecture, as well as the summarized spoken text, I suggest this template. The sentences in green are only optional just in case that you couldn't take enough notes to reach 35 seconds, to make sure that at least your oral fluency, grammar, and pronunciation won't suffer. And the final speaking task, answer short question. It's not important. If you don't know the answer, just say something for the sake of fluency, such as not sure. I personally didn't know the correct answer to like half of the questions in my exam, and I still managed to get 90s in all communicative skills. Now, important points to be minded of during the entire speaking section. First of all, pronunciation is very important. Imagine what happens when the computer doesn't understand one or more of your words in a sentence. It will have a sentence which doesn't have a subject, object, verb, or any other parts necessary for a sentence to make sense. This way, you will not only lose marks on your pronunciation, you will also lose marks on grammar and content as well. So it's important for you to make sure of that. There are videos on YouTube explaining the 44 sounds of English. I always use dictionary to check my pronunciation when I was learning a new word. The second important point is not making any pauses. Technically, if you pause more than 3 seconds at any time during recording, it will automatically stop recording. But if you pause less than 3 seconds but still pause noticeably or use fillers such as so much, you will lose marks on your oral fluency. So it's best to keep a steady pace instead of speaking too fast and then pause from time to time. Nevertheless, your enabling skills won't reflect themselves 100% on your communicative skills, as you can see it on my scorecard. So, if you perform acceptably in overall, there is no reason not to even get the full mark on your communicative skills. Because, to be realistic, even native speakers have minor deficiencies in the language, and it is completely acceptable by everyone. So why will they want to take it unnecessarily hard on non-native speakers? Now getting to the writing section of the PTE exam. The first and, in my belief, the most important task for your writing score is the summarized written text. It affects your reading score as well. The closer you write to the 70 word limit, the better. Try to put in as much as content from the different parts of the text into your writing, as the content part of it will affect your reading score. The more you write, the more you will also have to use complex sentence structures, which is the aim of this task to assess. So try to write at least 40 words. The essay part. I know it sounds daunting as it reminds many of us who have taken the IELTS exam of the importance of it for the writing score. But my understanding tells me that it's not that crucial for the PTE writing score. Even if you think about it, it has basically the same structure as the IELTS essay, but with half the time limit, 20 minutes instead of 40. And you have to type it too. So if you can fill it up to around 250 words with any slightly relevant content, but with no or very few spelling and grammar mistakes, then I'd say it's more than enough. Make sure that you leave an empty line between your paragraphs, as I forgot to do it at my exam and my written discourse suffered badly. But I still got the full mark on the writing skill. So you can get the idea too that some aspects are much more important than the others. And now the reading section. Reading and writing fill in the blanks. These two are by far the most important tasks of the reading section. I first thought that reading should be the easiest part of the exam for me, as I was a student in Australia for like a year and a half, and reading was my daily job. But as a matter of fact, I found the reading section of the PTE exam the most difficult to do. There are texts from a variety of topics which I had never read about and was not familiar with the vocabulary. So I had to spend some time learning many new words, as well as collocations and different meanings of the same word. I did that by doing a lot of reading practices on the internet. Multiple choice choose multiple answers and multiple choice choose single answers are the least important tasks of the reading section. Try to finish them as soon as possible to leave more time for the other tasks, as they are much more important. Choose only one answer for the multiple answer questions to save time and lower the risks of losing the more certain answer. Don't worry, you can still get 90s as I did. The reorder paragraph questions are very important for your reading score. There are techniques to find out the correct order of sentences, such as the use of articles, names, dates, and so on, which you can find out about by searching YouTube. Their techniques are correct and useful, but in most cases, their practice questions are poorly designed. You can tell that they've just picked a paragraph from an academic article, and since the article is from a reliable source, they've imagined that if they break down the paragraph into any pieces, the students should be able to tell the correct order. But this is not true at all, and real exam questions are designed in a way that you can clearly see that no other alternative order will make sense. And the final part, which is the listening section. The listening multiple choice choose multiple answers, and multiple choice choose single answer, and select missing words. Tasks are the least important tasks of the entire PTE exam. Try to finish them in the least amount of time to leave time for the more important tasks, such as write from dictation. I personally performed relatively poor at these tasks and still got all 90s. Frankly speaking, my questions in select missing words didn't even make sense to me and I was never able to choose the correct answer for certain. Summarize a spoken text is the first task of the listening section and is very important for both listening and writing scores. Use the same approach as I explained for rhetoric lecture to score high in this task. Make sure your spelling and grammar is perfect and write as close to the maximum allowed word limit of 70 words to bring in more content. From the Pearson's score guide, it looks like in most tasks, content, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and spelling are having the same weight. But I believe that the way by which they evaluate content and how it affects different skills scores and the overall score makes it much more important for the simple reason that content is the only way they can evaluate how much of the given answer is from memory and how much the test taker has actually understood. Fill in the blanks, highlight correct summary, and highlight incorrect words are relatively easy tasks provided that you have good spelling and can easily understand spoken English. They all have noticeable impact on your reading score as well. The last task of the PTE exam is the most important one as well. Write from dictation contributes significantly to your both listening and writing scores. So make sure that you leave enough time, at least 4 minutes, at the end of your listening part for this task. It is basically the same as the repeat sentence, so use the same techniques to memorize the spoken text. Make sure to begin your sentence with a capital letter and end with a period. If you're not sure about a word, then write down your best guesses because it does not reduce your score. In the end, try to watch as many as YouTube videos with repeated write from dictation questions on them, because they do repeat questions and I myself had heard most of my sentences before.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching my video, and I hope that you found it helpful. While I was making this video, it came to my mind that perhaps it's a good idea to use some examples on each of these tasks to show you how you should actually do it, like I did for read aloud in this video. So this is something that I will think about doing in future whenever I've got the time for it. Again, if you found this video helpful, please click the like button. It will help other people who might be looking for help with the PTE exam to find this video easier. So thank you, take care, and cheers.